Hi, I'm Bob Litwin. I'm a performance coach. I spent all day long thinking about what really gets people to be extraordinary in their performance. Um, People that are really successful, that want to be even better. Um, and of course, two people that I've studied, not clinically, but just watching over and over again, are Roger and Rafa. These two people have demonstrated the ability to consistently bring the highest level of their skill and talent over and over again over a period of years, more than a decade, almost every time they get out there. And it's so interesting because we look at them and what we see is what we think makes them extraordinary. And certainly the level that they have achieved with their technique, their fitness, and their strategy definitely is like why they're amazing. But of course, we also hear the story that most players that are in the top 10 are the difference between their technique and strategy is not really that great. There's different styles, but they're not that different. And on any given day, the player who's 10 or 20 in the world can play tennis at the level of the best player in the world, physically, fitness-wise. But when I look at them, what I see are the unseen skills that they have seemed to have developed as players. To me, the unseen skill that these two players have somehow managed to develop and evolve into as people is the ability to be free of counterproductive thoughts. We know that when we're playing tennis, we have so many thoughts that are going on, often negative thoughts, but sometimes like, oh, I'm going to win. That's a positive thought. But we have thoughts. Also, we know that if we are to be focused, to be in the present, and we hear so much about the value of being in the present, we need to be free of thoughts, especially counterproductive thoughts. So when a player like Roger or Rafa or Novak on his best day or Del Potro on his best day is able to be free of thoughts, by definition, what's left is a state of presence. And we all seem to do our best when we're present, in the present. Billie Jean says, be the ball. Focus on the ball as a way to be present. Now, there's some great things that happen when you're free of thoughts. One, of course, is you are left with the present. It's not effort to work to be focused. The effort is in letting these thoughts go automatically, instinctively. One of the takeaways, or one of the means to that, is to be somebody who's accepting of the isness of the chaotic experience of playing a tennis match. Roger and Rafa do not go up and down with their results. They stay neutral. They stay neutral, understanding that their activity, a tennis match, is loaded with things that they really would not like to accept. A missed shot, a double fault, a poor shot selection, a tweak in their back. They accept. Now, acceptance is a spiritual quality, something that if you've ever done any sort of spiritual work, you know that spiritual work is always spiritual practice. You practice over and over and over again until this way of being, in this case acceptance, folds into who you are. And you no longer try to accept. You accept things. Think of sitting in traffic. Who accepts that? Most of us don't. We get in traffic. That's the isness of the situation. And we start thinking like, I should have left earlier. I shouldn't have gone on this road. I'm going to get off this road. I'm going to go that way. I'm going to get on the service road. And usually we create a lot more chaos for ourselves. If we go into a state of acceptance, we're basically saying, oh, okay, I'm going to be late. This happens. This happens in life. So is the case with tennis. Tennis is loaded with stuff that we don't like. To accept it means that we're now free of resistance. What happens when we're free of resistance? Effort dissipates. I don't mean effort trying, but the over effort to do something starts to reduce. We watch Roger and we see somebody who seems to be so free of actual physical effort, where his skills and his talent come to the surface. Acceptance leads to being more in the present. Being more in the present leads to being able to do what we're already able to do. Being free of thoughts keeps us in a quiet place, allows acceptance to flow into our being. So when we accept, what are the things that we can accept? We can accept that our opponent is difficult, or not a nice person, or making bad calls. Now that's something people say, I don't want to accept that. Accepting puts us in a state where we're able to solve problems better. Acceptance does not mean we like the situation, and it also doesn't mean that we're passive. Roger may feel like the ball's getting up on me. The ball's getting up on me. I can't stand that Rafa keeps getting the ball up on my backhand. Or he goes into a state of observing. Oh, my, I'm backing up. His ball's getting up high. I see that. I accept that's going on. I solve that problem now. I'll go in and take the ball off the short hop. How does one get good at acceptance? It's a practice. All day long, we have the opportunity, many times, to accept little, small things. 1 pound weights. You go to the market. You're on the express line, 10 and under. Person in front of you has 12 things. Opportunity to work a 1 pound weight of acceptance so that when you're in that match and something happens and it's a bigger situation, it's match point. You've double faulted. Okay, this is the game. The game is filled with that kind of chaos. I accept the double fault. I don't like it. I'm not passive. I figure it out more clearly than if I get into that negative resistant state. Unseen skill, acceptance, being free of counterproductive thoughts, being in the present. Who here does not want these skills that we see these amazing players have so that they're free to play at their level? There are ways to practice. A person can practice being free of counterproductive thoughts. I'm not playing well. My back hurts. The sun's in my eyes. Being free of counterproductive thoughts, the way you can practice it is a very, very simple process that people tend to think is like, this can't possibly work. Here it is. You observe your thought as if it's a separate entity. You treat your thought as if it's something. You look at it, and now you're no longer the thought. An example would be, you walk on the court, you bring your racket in your racket bag, you've got your sweatband, you've got your hat, and you come on the court with an imaginary garbage pail. And on that garbage pail it says, counterproductive, useless thoughts. Put it over near your racket bag. When you're playing and you notice a thought that you know is not helping you, you can simply say to yourself, oh my, Bob, look at this thought. Of all the thoughts I could be having in this mind of mine, look at the thought that I'm choosing to focus on. My back is sore. I'm going to take that thought. I'm going to put it into my imaginary basket, my wastebasket that says, useless, counterproductive thoughts. I'll pick it up after the match and take it with me if I want it. By doing that, you're playing with your own thoughts that tend to get locked in to our brain. And we find that the thought, when we've put it outside of ourselves, tends to dissipate. How often we've postponed saying something we're thinking about for a better moment, and by the time we get around to it, it's not even there for us anymore. It's not important anymore. We don't even bother commenting on it. Very simple method. I don't know that Roger and Rafa use a fake garbage pail, but they've learned how to let go of thoughts that interfere with them being able to play their way, their high-end talent and skill. How do you work on presence? Presence is not something, we're born with presence, and then we learn to lose that over time. As we start to think more, we start to judge more, as we start to become attached to thoughts. As we resist things, we get really good at being out of the present. How do you practice presence? Very simple. This is one of many ways. There are so many ways to practice presence. One of the simplest ways is to take one of your breaths. You have about 22,000 a day. One breath. Close your eyes. Attempt to observe one full inhale, one complete exhale. And while you're doing it, see if you can notice the moment in between the inhale and exhale. If anybody tries to do that, they'll see it's not that easy. But as with any other tip, the key is practice. So imagine if once a day, just once in the day, you closed your eyes, attempted to observe one inhale, one exhale, and noticing that moment. It's like a swinging door, in, out. And you notice that moment. You practice it once a day. Over 30 or 40 years, you probably will get very good at finding focus, finding presence. But maybe you can practice it every hour on the hour for the hours you're awake, and give yourself a break. You'll forget a few times, so maybe that'll be 10 times in the day. That's better than once in the day. Or better yet, maybe you get to the point where you do 2 breaths 10 times a day. That's 20 times, something that will take you approximately a minute and a half in your day. Would it be worth it to find presence giving 1.5 minutes a day to your life? The juice is worth the squeeze. I can guarantee that. Because when you find presence, in presence, there's no thought. Freedom from thought allows us to be in this wonderful state of acceptance where we can do what it is we're already capable of doing. The juice is worth the squeeze. I suggest that Roger and Rafa, in their own way, as many people do, have discovered this. I would hope if I were in a room with them and could ask them the question, they would say, yeah, that is what I do. Here's how I do it. But maybe they don't even know that they're doing it. But that's what they're living when they're out there. Presence. The quiet space. Freedom from mental anguish. Just play. The juice is worth the squeeze.